to take in migrant children and house them at the city's convention center. The federal government asked Long Beach to give the children a temporary home. And CBS 2's Jasmine Deal is here now with more with what may happen. Jas.
So, Pat, the Long Beach City Council actually will be holding a special meeting tomorrow to approve this designation. In a statement, the city said it explored potential sites to assist and has determined that the Long Beach Convention Center would be the optimal site to provide housing, food, recreational, and other services to these children in need. Now, the convention center would temporarily accommodate up to 1,000 children for a period of 90 to 120 days. And then, of course, these children will be connected with family members or sponsors. I want to show you what the current camps look like along the border. Children sleep on the floor in crowded facilities. As the Biden administration deals with the surge in migrants, it's trying to find better places to house them. The federal government will cover the costs and provide the services. The city of Long Beach will play a supporting role, Pat, and coordinate the nonprofit services. And of course, we saw the big Easter celebration yesterday at the San Diego Convention Center. A lot of volunteers giving those donations to help the kids staying down there.
All right. Thanks so much for that, Jasmine. And we'll be following that story.
All this help for these kids from foreign countries, but no help for the kids that are here, no help for the homeless that are here in America, American-born citizens. I find that kind of odd. But once again, I just think that, they're trying to replace, the Democrats are trying to replace the voters that are here for them. That's what I think. Especially replacing black voters and getting these new immigrants over here. That's what I think is the plan, because you're doing all this stuff for these immigrants, but you're doing nothing for the American men, women, and children that are in need and need help, that are homeless and they are displaced and they need help. Not doing anything for them. So many issues with America, but you suddenly have all this money to help immigrants in foreign countries when we're in the midst of a pandemic and the economy is in bad shape. Long Beach Convention Center should house up to 1,000 migrant children, city says. The Long Beach Convention Center could house up to 1,000 migrant children over the 4 months as the number of unaccompanied minors has increased at the Mexican border, officials said Monday. The city on Monday said in a statement that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has indicated it would like to move ahead with a plan for Long Beach. Convention centers in Dallas and San Diego have already been converted into emergency shelters. Long Beach City Council will review the proposal in a closed session meeting at 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday. The discussion can happen behind closed doors because the state open meeting rules allow for real estate negotiations to be discussed privately. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services is expected to lease the property from the city, but the terms have yet to be set. Long Beach has a proud and long history of welcoming and helping immigrants and refugees, Mayor Robert Garcia said it in a statement. From our Cambodian community to work done by our churches and faith organizations, we have led with compassion and kindness. As an immigrant, I know how important it is to support all people, especially children, and I am proud to support our country in this important work. The Convention Center parking lot and front entrance at the Terrace Theater are currently serving as a mass COVID vaccination sites, with hundreds of residents and workers arriving each day for vaccines. However, the convention center itself and arena have remained mostly empty, with the pandemic putting a stop to large gatherings. Garcia, in an interview Monday, said City and Health Human Services will ensure that will be no impact to the vaccination areas, which are separate from the indoor convention center space and meeting rooms that are currently being considered for shelter. If the plan is approved, Long Beach could see children beginning to arrive as early as next week, Garcia said, adding that the model in Long Beach will look much more like the model in San Diego. The city in the coming days will have information on where people can volunteer to help. He said Long Beach will also partner with various community and faith-based organizations. Garcia said he's taken back by the overwhelming support from the community. It aligns with the city as a place that has always been forward-thinking and caring and has a history of this type of work. The city in its state, if it has this caring for this type of work, what about the homeless that are in Echo Park? Where's your caring and compassion for them? Why are you allowing this to happen? Why don't you think about the homeless? You got homeless and people in need and children in need in your city. You don't need to be helping people from foreign nations right now. The city in its statement said the convention center would be the optimal site to provide housing, food, recreation, and other services to these children in need. The children would be sheltered for a period of 90 to 120 days until they can be transferred to safe housing elsewhere in the U.S. These people getting housing and all this stuff while you got American-born citizens, single mothers, families who need housing, and you're giving it to people of foreign soil. The federal government would be responsible for both funding and providing the major services needed to care for the children, with Long Beach playing a supporting role, providing the facility and making connections to the other appropriate and non-profit and government services, officials said. The number of unaccompanied migrant children at the U.S.-Mexican border has increased significantly since the start of the pandemic, with many fleeing violence or poverty in their homes. The Federal Health and Human Services Department is responsible for sheltering the children after they are transferred out of U.S. Customs and Border Protection custody. As of Sunday, more than 7,000 children were in the U.S. Customs and Border Protection custody, while more than 14,287 were in Health and Human Services shelters, up from 11,551 on Tuesday. Health and Human Services in the statement said, "We are working with the city to explore the possibility of Long Beach Convention Center becoming an emergency intake site for unaccompanied children." This is crazy, man. Unbelievable. This is insane. All this work you're going to give to these people, and none to those who are in need. They're getting kicked out, displaced, who are homeless. American citizens who are homeless. Health and Human Services is housing about 2,000 teenage boys at the K. Bailey Hutchinson Convention Center in Dallas, and more than 1,000 teenage girls at the San Diego Convention Center who arrived last month. The site in San Diego this week was nearing capacity, according to news reports. Several of Long Beach 9 City Council members expressed their support for the plan on Monday. Councilwoman Cindy Allen, whose second district includes the convention center, said the space, which is currently unable to host indoor events, provides a tremendous opportunity to help without impacting operations of businesses. As our country seeks the best to ensure the safety of unaccompanied minors crossing the southern border and connect with them with their families and guardians, such as community, must be ready to do our part to help, said in a statement. Why are children going over the border by themselves? Councilman Rex Richardson, who represents the 9th District, said Long Beach has a moral responsibility to show compassion in an ongoing humanitarian crisis. We are a city that serves as a gateway to the world and has a legacy of welcoming immigrants, he said in a statement. By providing temporary shelter to migrant children, we are living up to our values and leading by example. Councilwoman Stacy Mungo of District 5 said the city must consider precautions to keep the children and the community safe, especially with the rise of COVID variants. Why bring kids here if we have no control over this, pandemic? More like plandemic. Downtown has numerous vulnerable communities that have already been ravaged by COVID, and it is our duty to ensure all measures are in place and federal funding will support all components of the program should we move forward, she said in a statement. Tomorrow's item would allow the city manager to negotiate terms, but by no means is it agreeing to anything. Much more information will be required so the communities we represent can weigh in on the important discussion. Children should not be in cages at the border, 7th District Councilman Roberto Uranga said in a statement. We compassionately welcome them to Long Beach. We will be there for them and love and care. How about send them back? 8th District Councilman Al Austin expressed his supporting the tweet. In a time of crisis, convention centers are supposed to be used as an emergency public resource. The extraordinary times require an extraordinary response. How about sending them back? Okay, we have homeless people here that need help. We have children here that need help. We have a broken foster care system. We have broken social services system. And yet we want to help people from foreign countries right now in the midst of a pandemic. I don't see a point to doing this. The only thing I can see is a replacement. The Democratic Party is willing to replace the people, their voters. That's what I'm thinking. It's a massive change that's coming. That's what I see. There has to be some sort of scheme the Democrats are allowing to happen. And don't be surprised if the Republicans aren't in on it either. Both sides are dirty. Two dirty wings of the same dirty bird. Okay? This is just nonsense. You want to give your shirt off your back, to total strangers of a foreign land. Yet you got people here born on American soil that they need help. They need food. They need clothing. And yet you're going to kick them to the curb, displace them. That's what I don't get. Crackdown at Echo Park. Homeless encampment begins as LAPD moves in, clashing with protesters. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. You want to feed all these other people, but you can't feed the ones here on American soil? Authorities on Wednesday, and I think the reason why the Democrats are just moving towards this is because they know that when the next coming election comes up, and after 4 years, they're going to vote Republican, and they're going to prevent that by getting these foreigners over here, getting them citizenship, getting them housing, making them citizens. So when it comes around for re-election time, they'll vote for Biden again. But of course, this is all planned. You're going to call me conspiracy theorist. I don't really care, because conspiracy theories that you claim them to be are becoming conspiracy facts. Authorities on Wednesday night moved to close down a homeless encampment in Echo Park that has become a highly charged test of city leaders' struggle to balance constituents' demands for clean streets and public spaces with an ever-growing tragedy of people who have no homes. Scores of police moved into the area where they were met by more than 200 protesters who opposed the sweep. The Los Angeles Police Department repeatedly told protesters to leave, and by early Thursday morning, the crowd had dwindled and the protest had wound down. Just before 10 p.m., park rangers flanked by LAPD officers began tapping the notices of closures on trees and light poles on the east side of the park, where homeless people have been camping throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. The sign said the park closes Thursday and gave notice that all personal property must be removed from the park, including but not limited to tents, chairs, tables, backpacks, bags, and personal items. City contractors, protected by LAPD officers, unloaded fence from flatbed trucks. Floodlights helped guide their work as they pounded the panels of fence into the ground. Once it was up, the workers unfurled green fabric and hung it along the fence. Los Angeles Police Chief Michael Moore said homeless residents inside the park will be allowed to stay there overnight, but no one else can enter. The encampment residents must leave within 24 hours, he added. Some protesters saw that the statement as a victory. "We won the night," one organizer shouted. "I live here, and I consider tonight a victory," added one resident of the camp. Police, just before 10:30, gave a dispersal order to the crowd through a loudspeaker from a white truck, officially declaring an unlawful assembly. There were some clashes with police seen shoving some protesters and some bottles and other objects thrown at officers. Police tried to push protesters back from the park, but they refused to move. At one point, a line of police officers in riot gear moved slowly along Glendale Boulevard at the edge of the lake, telling protesters to clear the area. Protesters, a mix of homeless people and activists who have taken up their cause, refused to budge and chanted back, "Whose park? Our park." I see, this is the problem here. It's not your park. You just, the city's been allowing you to stay there, but now you don't own the park. Sad to say. The crowd then began chanting, "Why are you in riot gear? I don't see riot here." At 12:30 a.m., the number of protesters had dwindled to about 40, watched over by several hundred police. Some residents of the encampment were saying they would not leave, but others decided it was time to go. Edward Juarez dismounted a tent on the east side of the park as dozens of officers massed across the street. Park rangers accompanied by police tapped signs to the trees that said Juarez and others who lived in the park had to clear out by 10:30 p.m. Thursday. Juarez, who lived in the park since August, said the tent belonged to a friend who'd been placed last week at a hotel downtown Los Angeles. Juarez, a professional photographer who said he lost his livelihood when the pandemic shut down concerts and other nightlife events he worked, said he planned to stay the night somewhere else, maybe on Alvarado Street or at a friend's house. Sad. "I just want to get out of here. It's getting crazy," he said, nodding toward the officers wearing helmets and carrying batons across the street. Juarez said police officers came to the park last week and said the city planned to clear the park, although they didn't tell him when the sweep would happen. "It is what it is," he said. "What else are you going to do?" Los Angeles Councilman Mitch O'Farrell said LAPD was to support community staff efforts during installation of the fencing to assist in the rehabilitation of Echo Park. Department personnel are deployed in that area so that those efforts can begin in a safe and unimpeded manner. He added that the homeless services providers would be back in the park Thursday to work with the park's unhoused residents to offer shelter and services to anyone who wants and needs assistance. Supporters helped a homeless woman evacuate LAPD officers as LAPD officers arrived in Echo Park Wednesday night to clear the encampment. The Sela Neighborhood Homeless Coalition at Wednesday night demanded that the closure be postponed so residents have the necessary time to meaningfully connect with service providers who are working tirelessly to serve them. As protests erupt on the west side of the park, senior officials with the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority moved through the park's dimly lit and dead quiet eastern part. They sought out 30 to 50 homeless people they estimate remain there. They found one couple who jumped at the opportunity to go downtown hotel and quickly called them a lift. "Let's meet at their tent. We have to figure out what to do with their stuff," LASA Executive Director Heidi Martson said to one of our colleagues as they waited for them to depart. Martson was frustrated and concerned with how the park's closure had been rolled out and communicated to the homeless people. "They need time and ample warning before something like this could take place," she said. "It's about the setting expectations, clear and giving options," Martson said. "That wasn't possible here," he said. "The couple they got to a hotel were the only people who wanted to go tonight. She hoped more would go Thursday. If you're going to close the park, to be clear, it doesn't mean we need to take people by surprise," she said. "It facilitates fear, chaos, and it breaks the trust we built. It seems like it didn't need to happen this way." Unfortunately, the city doesn't care about these people. And like I said, this is all a move to make sure that they get these Democrats, this shadow government gets a second wind to, break down this country so this nation's enemies could take over. And then we could have this new world order because people will be so desperate for leadership that they will accept the new world order. It's basically what it is. Why else would you not care about your own citizens in your own homeland that are in need and you're going to help foreigners? Why else? Sad, but that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. All right. Tell me what you think in the comments. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'm on Podbean. I am on Spreaker. I also have a community called Hard Talk Community on locals.com, locals.com. You can check me out there. And that's about it. The Patreon thing I will see about working on. All right. Later.